Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Alexander Isak transfer update as Liverpool show interest in last-minute deal. Liverpool now have less than a week to go before their Premier League title defense gets underway. The Reds will host Bournemouth at Anfield on Friday as they kickstart their new top-flight season. Arne Slot's side were handed a potential blow to their preparations for the new campaign with the defeat in the Community Shield. Liverpool were held to a 2-2 draw at Wembley Stadium to Crystal Palace but lost 3-2 in a penalty shootout. Away from the action on the pitch, Liverpool are continuing to be linked with several potential new signings. The Reds have made 7 new additions to their squad this summer, and there is the potential for more to come over the next 3 weeks. Alexander Isak update. An update has emerged on Liverpool's continued links to Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak. The Telegraph journalist Luke Edwards has claimed that the Reds could still sign Isak if 2 conditions are met. The first is that Newcastle managed to sign 2 top-class forwards to replace Isak, and the other is for Liverpool to offer £150 million. However, the report claims that both scenarios remain unlikely to happen at this stage. Yoane Wissa claim. Liverpool have been credited with an interest in signing Brentford forward Yoane Wissa this summer. Wissa has been heavily linked with a move away from the Bees, but the expectation has been that the forward will join Newcastle if he was to leave the GTEC Community Stadium. However, Sky Sports reporter Keith Downey has claimed that Liverpool have shown late interest in trying to sign Wissa. But the report goes on to say that, despite this apparent interest, Wissa will not be signing for the Reds and will instead be joining Newcastle. Liverpool handed clear Alexander Isak transfer conditions as timeline and ultimatum set. Newcastle United striker and Liverpool target Alexander Isak has reportedly been handed an ultimatum by his club as he seeks a move away this summer. The Reds have been strongly linked with the Sweden international for some time, and interest remains despite the arrival of Hugo Ekitike this summer. Having parted ways with Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez to Bayern Munich and Al Hilal respectively, Arne Slot's forward line appears somewhat lacking in depth ahead of the new season. Liverpool had a £110 million bid for Isak rejected at the start of this month, but have yet to return with an improved offer for the 25-year-old. Whether and when that happens will likely depend on Newcastle's willingness to negotiate, with the Echo reporting that the Reds' hierarchy currently consider it futile to table a fresh proposal given the speed and clarity of Newcastle's initial rejection. Newcastle's pursuit of Benjamin Sesko could have paved the way for Isak's departure, but the Slovenian's decision to join Manchester United over the Magpies has sent them back to the drawing board. The latest update from our sister title chronicle Live states that Newcastle are continuing their search for a striker capable of stepping into Isak's role, with Benfica's Vangelis Pavlidis the latest name to be offered by intermediaries. Crucially, the report adds that an ultimatum has been issued to the player. If no serious offer is received from Liverpool, or any club for that matter, no transfer will take place. All summer, £150 million has been the figure quoted in the media that Newcastle want for Isak, though the report states there have been suggestions that a fee in the region of £130 million plus add-ons could be enough to make a breakthrough and secure a transfer, if and when further negotiations begin. Isak was not included in Newcastle's pre-season tour of the Far East, officially due to a thigh injury. However, it later emerged that the striker was recovering with his personal staff at his former club Real Sociedad's training facilities, rather than on Tyneside, further adding fuel to the speculation he wants a move away before the deadline. The latest comments from Eddie Howe over the weekend suggest that anything remains possible with 3 weeks still to go in the transfer window. "I think everything is in play," Howe said after their defeat to Atletico Madrid. "I've said many times he is contracted to us. He is our player. The club make the decision on his future. I don't know what that will be. Of course I have a preferred outcome. I want the best and the strongest squad possible, but I also want players that really want to play for this football club." Alexander Isak has played every transfer hit Liverpool's need clear amid £150 million waiting game. For a club whose investment has reached historic levels this summer, it might seem peculiar to suggest Liverpool are undercooked. But with the defense of their Premier League title due to get underway in 5 days' time, the penalty shootout defeat to Crystal Palace in the Community Shield has shone the spotlight on the areas where improvement can be found for the champions. It would be wrong to suggest the 2-2 draw with FA Cup holders Palace represented a screeching realization for Arne Slot about his squad's shortcomings. But it is clear that tactical tweaks and market moves are still needed before the Reds are fully equipped to go again. He had a good impact, but he is also an example of a player who came, I think, 1.5 to 2 weeks ago at the end of our Asian tour, said Arne Slot of Hugo Ekitike's eye-catching 70-minute cameo on Sunday. So for me, with only 3 or 4 days before the Friday game, it wouldn't be smart to play him for 90 minutes because, of course, we have Federico Chiesa, but he has not been on the Asian tour as well, so there's not a lot to replace him with. So, if he gets an injury at this moment of time, that would be a big risk for the Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal games. That's why I took him off, but he had a good game today. That's for sure. Ekitike, a £79 million arrival from Eintracht Frankfurt last month, has looked sharp, silky, and powerful during his limited time as a Reds player, but it's curious to note that he remains, for now, the only recognized senior centre-forward at the club. Cody Gakpo has always been a versatile, multifunctional sort of footballer, but Slot has shown no inclination to move the Netherlands international away from the left side of the attack, where he made his name at PSV Eindhoven and as a regular for the Dutch side. And given Gakpo recorded his best season to date on Merseyside last time out, it makes total sense to keep him stationed on the left. Even more so now Luis Diaz has moved to Bayern Munich in a £65.5 million deal. 16-year-old Rio Ngumaha has lit up pre-season at times, but he is a work in progress who is not yet ready to challenge Gakpo for a regular spot, despite the undoubted excitement around the talented teen. So the current situation leaves Liverpool with 4 senior forwards alongside Ngumaha, with one of them in Federico Chiesa still with plenty to prove at Anfield. The Italy international's pedigree was talked up when he joined 12 months ago from Juventus, but there has been precious little evidence of why he has his reputation so far as a Liverpool player. Speculation over his future persists and minutes remain limited. "Well, we just lost Darwin," Virgil van Dijk said at Wembley. "He went to Saudi and we lost Lucho Diaz. Obviously he went to Bayern. I think there's always room for an attacker in order to strengthen us, so let's see what the window brings in terms of the balance of the team. I said it last year, we had to trust the club, the board, and the people to make the right decisions in order to help the club to even improve in all positions. Even with the season we had last season, and I think that is a good sign. I think they have been doing pretty well. The decisions to allow both Diaz and Nunez to leave have been drawn into sharp focus. Liverpool have still looked a smooth operation in the final third at times in the 2 games played without the South American duo, but over the course of the campaign, it's clear the options are not as plentiful. The obvious asterisk is the unimaginably tragic loss of Diogo Jota in early July, but the willingness to sell Diaz and Nunez, who had both made it clear they wanted to leave, means sporting director Richard Hughes must have a plan. Much rests on the future of Yoane Alexander Isak at Newcastle United, someone who has played all the hits in his efforts to leave St James Park. After deciding against joining the club on their tour of the Far East by citing a minor thigh injury, Isak then resumed training at former club Real Sociedad before returning to the Newcastle setup to step up his workload away from his teammates. Eddie Howe has been critical of Isak's conduct to a point, and reports of his banishing from a family barbecue at the club's training ground earlier this month suggested there is little way back for the former Sociedad striker in the northeast, even if selling their star man remains an unpalatable prospect for Magpies. After seeing a £110 million bid rejected for the Sweden international earlier this month, Liverpool have made it clear negotiations won't resume while Newcastle remain without the players they have identified to replace Isak. It's been widely reported they have set an asking price at an eye-watering £150 million, but there might need to be some bartering before an eventual British transfer record sum is agreed upon. A lot depends on Newcastle's ability to source an adequate successor for Isak, but Andy Howe, the nephew of Eddie, has so far proven woefully out of his depth while in charge of recruitment in lieu of a full-time sporting director, which has been vacant since the combative Paul Mitchell stepped away. Never has the importance of a proper sporting operations department been more apparent given the raft of targets who have slipped through Newcastle's grasp in recent weeks. For Liverpool, they certainly have that, but the wait goes on to see if Hughes is able to add an Isak feather to his increasingly colorful cap. Slot may find himself having to make do with the current options at his disposal as the fascinating situation at Newcastle continues without a resolution seemingly in sight. Liverpool at least know who they want in their efforts to further renovate the attacking department. But the waiting game goes on. Liverpool's season is underway, and it began with defeat via a penalty shootout in Sunday's Community Shield against Crystal Palace at Wembley Stadium. Arne Slot's side now turn their attention to their Premier League title defense, which starts with Bournemouth at Anfield on Friday night. Yet, the conversation continues to revolve around the transfer window and the ongoing Alexander Isak saga. The Swedish striker has been instructed to train separately and did not feature in either of Newcastle United's 2 friendlies last weekend. Manager Eddie Howe does not see a quick end to the saga, whilst the Magpies have reportedly blocked their player from leaving. Liverpool have already had an offer turned down for the unsettled star. Meanwhile, Palace's Mark Guéhi has entered the spotlight once again, following his performance at Wembley on Sunday. His club's chairman, Steve Parish, has now acknowledged the possibility of losing the defender for free next summer. And reports around Harvey Elliott's future have also increased in recent days, with RB Leipzig said to pushing to sign the England under-21 star. He could be the next to follow Darwin Núñez out the door following the striker's £46 million move to Al Hilal. Liverpool's hopes of signing Alexander Isak this transfer window are dwindling, according to the latest reports. According to Sky Sports' Keith Downey, Newcastle's options to replace the Sweden international, following their failed pursuit of Benjamin Sesko, are thin on the ground. With time ticking towards the September 1st deadline, it's becoming increasingly likely he will remain at St James Park. Premier League decision hands Liverpool unique Isak and Guéhi transfer deadline. There are now a matter of days before reigning champions Liverpool kick off the new 2025-26 Premier League season, writes Amy Wilson. The Reds host AFC Bournemouth at Anfield on Friday, August 15th, 8 p.m. In the build-up to the game, Liverpool continue to be strongly linked with possible transfers for both Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak and Crystal Palace defender Mark Guéhi. While a move for either player before the first game of the campaign now seems highly unlikely to be completed, Liverpool will be at a slight disadvantage to some of their rivals if they do find a sudden breakthrough in the deals. A number of dominoes need to fall before Liverpool can put another offer on the table for Alexander Isak. For starters, Newcastle need to bring in reinforcements of their own. Currently, the Magpies are in the market for 2 strikers, one to replace Callum Wilson, and one to potentially fill the void that would be left by an Isak departure. Yoane Wissa appears to be the Wilson replacement and would represent a huge step in the right direction in terms of Isak eventually getting over the line. But first, Brentford must source and sign a replacement of their own before a deal for Wissa can be sanctioned. According to L'Equipe, Brentford and Newcastle are in the race for Rennes forward Arnaud Calamuendo, although the London club are slightly further ahead in the race. He was an unused substitute for their friendly against Genoa over the weekend, as an exit appears to be on the horizon. Should the 23-year-old arrive at the Gtech Community Stadium, that should pave the way for Wissa to complete a move to Tyneside, allowing Newcastle to shift their attention to a possible Isak replacement. Liverpool have already seen a £110 million offer for Isak swiftly rejected by Newcastle, but do not intend to waste their time with a series of rejected bids. Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe.